Hello, welcome to the West Ham Way YouTube. Myself, Mark Carlaw, following a massive defeat for West Ham. Obviously, of course, for David Moyes as well. This was always going to be running. This is always going to be a big story. We've talked about it so often on this channel for quite some time now. I just want to sort of say before we sort of get into it is the previous video we did, which was on the Moyes subject. We sort of suggested that, well, I'd sort of said that I felt that he was owed a little bit of time. I felt that the result against Leeds was gave a little bit of encouragement. Okay, we did, and we've got the win obviously in Brentford in the cup, which is, I didn't want to take it too much into account. But again, it was something to be a little bit optimistic about. However, we did say, made it very clear, the proof would be in the pudding against Wolves and the Everton games. They were the ones that really mattered to show that we were back on track, or we were starting to turn a corner. This was David Moyes' chance to do that, to really show that things were going to start turning. And the polar opposite has happened. We're exactly back where we were, as far as I'm concerned, where we were against Arsenal. Really, really poor performance, poor from the manager, and quite rightly now his position is now, in my opinion, untenable. I think that it's come to its end. There's no way around this. We've said for a long time that David Moyes was, on thin ice and really looked like he was going. It felt like it was more a case of when is it going to happen. It was unlikely he was going to turn it around. And now it just doesn't feel that he's ever going to. You can't see it. The players aren't fighting for him, and nothing's changing. I think that's the most important part. Nothing's changing, is it? No, the tactics aren't changing. The attitude isn't changing. It's just the same. It's just the same. We're sleepwalking towards the drop. 15 points from 19 games is horrific. And that performance was just awful, really, all over. But first of all, just want to go where we are now in the David Moyes situation. So, ex-WHU employee has provided quite a big update on this. There's definitely a shift, and I think I'm actually quite relieved. Actually, I actually feel at last the club are starting to make the right noises behind the scenes. I think they've had enough of the situation. I think that they're going to make a move. I can't see them standing by David Moyes for much longer. I think they're realising that this situation is now dire, and he is taking us down. There's no two ways about it. David Moyes has been granted time to sort this out. Too much time, in my opinion. I think we all can agree on that. And he's not delivering. It's not changing. The situation isn't changing. So let's just have a quick look where we are now then. So I've taken some notes down on the screen here. So ex-WHU employee has provided an update. Now the board, this is what he said. The board, the backing from the board now is weakening. This is X's view. This isn't 100% confirmed from someone in the source, but it seems that it is weakening and the patience is running thin. These are the words from X, and this is where we kind of are at the moment now. So this is what I was saying. I believe now the board, they've had enough. They're getting fed up with it now. They're like every fan now. They're getting a bit exhausted listening to the excuses and the promises that, we're getting back to a level. Well, we're not getting back to a level, David. We haven't been at that level now for well over a year, and it's getting a bit boring. Keep hearing it. I've got some stats to back that up in a minute. X has also said something quite interesting now. They're looking at other managers. There's a short list that's been drawn up. And this is a list that it's apparently it's got two sets to it. So they've got a short-term replacements and long-term replacements. So interesting. On that list, apparently Rafa Benitez, Nuno Santos from the Wolves manager, as former Wolves managers on it as well. But X did stress as well, there's a lot of other names on there as well. Typical West Ham, you'd imagine. The sort of scattergun approach, it appears. We're going for every manager under the sun. However, that's where we are. At least I'm a little bit more relieved that things seem to be moving in the direction that we need it to, which is we need to make a change. However, the one thing that X did stress, and he's stressing at the moment, there's nothing concrete in any of this at the moment in terms of David Moyes' position, and there's nothing to suggest that he won't be in charge against Everton, which is ridiculous in my opinion. I don't know what David Moyes now, because look, so if we keep David Moyes on for another week, let's say we beat Everton. Let's bear in mind, Everton are in the same situation as us. They're in horrendous form. They're losing every week, and they look like and Frank Lampard's in very much pretty identical situation. David Moyes, he looks like he's about to lose his job. I can't see him staying there much longer. So if we do win that game, which you would expect us to, what does that do then? So then they're going to go, oh, well done, David. Let's give you another 3 games. And by the way, they're against Newcastle, I think it's Chelsea and Tottenham. So you're looking straight away at 3 defeats straight away. So then they're going to then pull the trigger. There's just no point. There's no point doing this. It doesn't make a difference. For me, the Wolves' performance was just, as we've said in the previous video, proof in the pudding. This isn't changing. It's not going to change now. It's not going to. So I cannot believe the club for 1 minute are even considering keeping him for another week. I don't see the point now. There's just no point to it. So that's where we are. On to the Wolves game itself. I actually thought the first half we played okay. Didn't look too bad. The problem is with it, it's just the predictable, boring West Ham David Moyes tactics again. And you can kind of see it in the players. You know, and us fans are getting frustrated. The players must just be frustrated with it. It's just the same every week. The same players in the same positions. We're doing the same subs at the same time. I mean, Ben Reimer on the bench. Why on earth would you have your best player this season, the player that really looks dangerous, the one that's going to make it? This is a must-win game. I put him on the bench. I bring him on the 60th minute. It's so boring. Thomas Souček playing again. I mean, to be fair to him, he's probably one of the better performers, but that says something then, doesn't it? It shows how poor we were. If Souček's come off the pitch going, well, actually, he's probably one of the better ones. It's just shocking performance and just so predictable again, so boring. I mean, we must be the easiest team to prepare for any other opposing manager and team. They must just go, I don't even need to watch videos. I know exactly how West Ham are going to line up. I know exactly when they're going to make subs. I know who's going to be coming on for who. It's the most boring, repetitive side. There's just nothing changes with David Moyes. It's the same boring tactics. And I just can't believe it. I can't get over that this man, continues to spout what he says, about the fact that he's turning it around and we need to be patient and we're going to get back to this level. It's so exhausting. And then every week we just go through the same boring tactics and plan. And I mean, it doesn't really look like we have a plan. I mean, the plan just seems to be for David Moyes, don't concede a goal in the first hour, try and keep it at 0-0, and then we'll just try and nick it in the last half an hour. That just seems to be his game plan every match. It doesn't matter who we're playing. It doesn't matter if we're playing the team at the bottom of the league. That is our game plan. We will just sit back, absorb as much as we can, try and counter-attack, even though we've got no poxy pace in our team. But let's try and counter-attack. And then what we'll do is I'll throw some fresh faces on with half an hour to go and hopefully we'll nick the game. That's all he seems to have in his locker at the moment, David Moyes, which I find stunning because when you consider David Moyes is not an idiot, okay? David Moyes is not, he's highly regarded in football. He's someone that's studied around the world. I can't get over someone with his knowledge of the game only seems to have one way of thinking. And, we talked about his stubbornness, but that's almost like that's what it is. It's like he's just, no, this will work. No, I'm going to stick to it. Like his team selection. No. I promise you this team selection will work. It doesn't. It hasn't worked for so long. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think Wolves were the better side overall. I don't think they were that great, though. I don't think Wolves were very good. To be honest with you, from what I wasn't at the match, but from what I understand from the game was that there actually was a lot of anxiety in there in the ground from Wolves, and we just didn't take any advantage of it. We didn't try to rattle the home fans and rattle them a little bit and get them nervous. But that's what a daring manager would do, and think, well, let's just go for it. Let's try and get an early goal because that'll turn their fans and we might be able to win this game. But just David Moyes hasn't got that in him. He just hasn't. He sticks to his principles and he sticks to his methods that just don't work. And if they don't work, don't matter. I'll keep trying to do it again next week. Oh, it didn't work. I don't matter. I'll do it again next week. It doesn't change. And I just can't believe it. It's such naivety. I thought the performances overall, general from West Ham, was really poor. It's really hard to pick a really good performer out of that. I even said Thomas Souček is probably one of the better ones. That kind of says it all. I've looked at the goal, watched the highlights, of course, quite a fair bit, and I've looked at their goal. I'm sorry, I was originally mentioning Declan because I thought he was really poor for their goal. Kind of sums up where we are, really, jogging back. Really, we didn't really look interested. I mean, when you look back at their goal, came from our corner, of course, it would a counter attack against us. But we got no pace in the side. That's the problem. We can't handle it. I mean, it was actually embarrassing watching. I don't know if you saw it, the Ogbonna running back. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Ogbonna, but it just sums up where we are. It looked like what he is, an old player running back as hard as he could, and it was just too easy. Souček was poor. They were just jogging back. The only one that looked like he was actually really trying, I thought, was Fornals. But again, he's not got any pace, really. He's not a fast player. So he was struggling to get back. It just looked like a fast team out running a really slow team. It's just what it was. It was just embarrassing, really, really, really poor goal to concede, especially when it came from a corner. You're thinking, for God's sake, I mean, I did a terrible delivery again from West Ham. I mean, it's stunning, isn't it, when you look back and think this is the same West Ham team, or it's not the same team, but this is the David Moyes team that were top of the league for set pieces. We were known and famed. Having a corner for us used to be like nearly like having a penalty at half the time. It was, I literally 50% of the time I thought it was 50-50. We're going to get a goal here. Now, never, 0%. I don't ever have any confidence in our corners. It's remarkable. The collapse in this team is remarkable. From the side that we were once upon a time, and not that long ago, we're looking pretty decent. Although I will get onto that once, because David Moyes seems to love to bring that up in his interviews, and once again he did it again. So where are we on David Moyes then? So David Moyes is, as we know, very much under pressure now. It feels now that the axe is being grinded now. I think that they are going to pull the trigger on his tenure as a manager. I can't see it lasting very long. I've got a sneaky feeling it might happen before Everton. I really hope it does, because I just don't see the point. Like I've just said, we win the game, then what happens? You're going to sack him then or not? You're going to keep him on, right? So you're going to keep him for the games we're definitely going to lose. Well, what's the point? Just get it done now. Even if you got an interim in, even if it was Mark Noble just for a few weeks, while you're trying to get someone in. You just need something. You need to freshen it up, because we need to get him out of the football club. I think the players would be relieved. They're not playing for him. They haven't been playing for him for a long, long time. It's quite obvious. It's just so obvious. They're not fighting for him. I was really, really hoping we'd start seeing a turnaround. I did in the preview before the match. By the way, that came in a bit late for this channel, so I do apologise that me and Riley were a little bit behind. Usually we do it a little bit earlier, but we just couldn't get around to it. So. But in that preview, I said 3-1 West Ham. I really was optimistic. I thought we've been away for a whole week. Pretty much everyone's fit, apart from Max Cornet. It was all... And Wolves are just lost in the week as well, played midweek. You just felt that this is probably the time that this would be a really big win for West Ham, especially ahead of Everton and at home, which you'd expect us to get the result, especially if we'd beaten Wolves. I just thought this was the pivot. I've just said it was the pivotal time. This will decide whether we're going to pull away from this now, or we're going to be in a relegation battle to the end. And he's answered it, David Moyes, emphatically. It was horrendous performance. Really, really poor. I'm so disappointed, so angry as well with the situation, because I just can't get over how he's letting this get to this situation. I don't know what he's doing during the week. I genuinely don't know what that man and these players are doing during the week at training, what they are doing. I just can't believe that they're literally going to their training week every week and saying, let's do the exact same tactics again. Let's play to try and counter-attack. And then what we'll do is we'll throw some subs on. I just can't get over it. I just sit there and think, can you imagine being a player in that dressing room, listening to that man talk? It must be exasperating listening to him go. You think, is he joking? Like, Flynn Downs is sitting there thinking, what is going on? Like, how am I behind Thomas Souček? How can I be? Every time I played for you, David, I've put in a 10 out of 10. And yet that man walks onto the pitch every time just because he's bloody taller. And let's be honest, I think that's the only reason, because he wins headers more than he will. I think that's the only reason, which is just it's just ridiculous. Anyway, I'm getting frustrated. So David Moyes, then where are we now? He's under massive pressure. The club I think, are going to pull the trigger at some stage very soon. I think it's a matter of when now. It's not going to turn around. It's obvious. I really hope it is soon. X is going to be keeping updated on this, by the way, on Patreon, as much as he possibly can. I'm recording this on a Sunday, which means that typically, like X has said, it's very difficult to get news on Sunday, so typically people's days off. Obviously, there has been rumours that there was going to be a board meeting being called. Whether that's happening, I don't know. I don't think that's the case. But what's really annoyed me with one of X's comments, that one of the reasons, I don't know whether this has anything to do with that, is that David Moyes is expected still to be in charge against Everton, because also he's expected to say some words for David Gold's tribute. I mean, don't get me wrong, he should still be doing that, but at the end of the day, that's irrelevant to the football. You can't keep a manager because he's got to say some words at someone who's passed away. That's ridiculous. I mean, that's not a reason to keep him in his job. This is the here and now. We've got to sort this out. I really hope that is not a reason to keep that man in the job, which I'm sure it's not. But yeah, that did come up in one of his comments, which just, God, if that is the case, then my word. So let's go back to really where we are this season then. So David Moyes was given time. David Moyes was given ample time to turn this around. Let's be honest, he should have been sacked before the World Cup. That was the time to sack him. We all knew it. Everyone knew it. This is the perfect time to get rid of David Moyes. We had a diabolical start to the season, and we all thought this would be we had a 6-week break. You had a 6-week break. What a perfect time to go out and get yourself a new manager. Get rid of David Moyes straight away. You've had 2 or 3 weeks to say get the manager in. So 2 or 3 weeks, and then he had best part of a month then to get himself in, behind the desk, meeting the players, getting himself up, get his ideas across, and start getting, get everyone buzzing for the restart. No, the club didn't do it. I actually agreed with it, to be honest with you. Although I still think, in hindsight, it was the right. They should have done it. And I actually agreed at the time. I thought, no, to be fair, maybe give it to Moyes. But the message to Moyes had to be: you've got 6 weeks to turn this around. This is your window to sort it. We want to see a new, revitalised side against Arsenal. That's a big game. That was the game for me that was a nail in the coffin. Really, really struck a bad chord with me, that Arsenal performance. It was shocking. So since the World Cup break, we've played... I'm not counting the FA Cup game. I'm sorry, I'm not counting it. It was against a Brentford B side. I'm not going to count it. Just talking about the Premier League now, because that's what we're talking about, because we're in a relegation battle in the Premier League. FA Cups are irrelevant in this, in my opinion. So David Moyes has come back, and we were told he was given 3 games, okay? Now, the first of those games is Arsenal away. We lost 3-1. We were awful. We were bullied. We were weak. We were just awful. Awful performance. How on earth we were 1-0 up at half-time, I'll never know. It was luck, pure luck, because Arsenal were running the game. We just got run against the run of play. We got a penalty, and then we saw out half-time. And don't forget as well, they also have got a penalty rewarded. It was ruled out incorrectly, but that typical West Ham. We nearly conceded right on the break. And then they just ramped up their gears second half and just wiped us the floor of us. I think they scored 3 goals in about 12 minutes, something like that. And anyway, terrible performance. Moving on to the next one. And then it was sort of like treated as if like, well, yeah, but what are you expecting? We're going to beat Arsenal. Were you expected to beat Arsenal? No, but I was expecting some fight and we didn't see anything. So very disappointed. Then we had Brentford at home. First 10 minutes, pretty good, pretty decent. Looked up for it. Typical sort of home performance. Everyone's up for it. Come on, West Ham, let's go and do it. Brentford got the other end and score. Then it was it. All game over. All fell apart. Lost 2-0. Never really looked into it. Looked that much into the game, and never looked like getting back into it and getting an equaliser or whatever. We never looked like getting back in it. I don't think Brentford played that well that day either, and they walked away 2-0 winners. So sums it up. And then we had the Leeds game, and that was the one that you kind of thought, oh, there's a little bit of something here. I mean, it wasn't great. It wasn't the best performance. Leeds weren't very good. But there was a bit of fight. That's what I quite liked about it. A little bit of fight. We sort of rolled our sleeves up a little bit that day. I thought Soufal played quite well. And we sort of just seemed to be a little bit more us, a little bit, it wasn't a good performance, but it was okay. It felt like we were fighting a little bit, which gave that little feeling of optimism. Hence why I said, okay, let's see how we get on against Wolves. That's the big one now. Let's see if this is starting to turn around. Well, it's not, is it? It's not turning around at all. We've now lost now. So from those 4, we've played 4 games since the World Cup. We've achieved 1 point, and that's from 12 available. He's got to be sacked. He has got to be sacked now. This isn't just looking at sort of things. This is just look at the facts. You only got to look at the results and go, David, look at that. You've got to go. Like you were given a chance. He's had too much time. He's had another pre-season. He's been lucky enough to be given a 6-week break from the season to come up with new ideas, to freshen these players up, to get things going. And he's wasted it. He's done nothing. Nothing's changed. It's the same crap every week. The same game plan. It doesn't matter if it doesn't work. He just sticks to it. And I just can't believe it. And what's really annoying me as well with David Moyes at the moment is his comments. Is his post-match comments again. Just this bizarre... I mean, he's changed the line, actually. He was saying the West Ham... He's actually implying that West Ham should be grateful. We should be really grateful to him. We owe him, effectively. He hopes he's going to get the home support behind him because we owe him, to say thanks for all these... For the great 2.5 years now. It was 2 years before. Apparently, it's going another 6 months. The great 2.5 years we've had David Moyes. Well, it's not been 2.5 years, David. I've said it enough times on this channel now. It hasn't been 2.5 years, brilliant. It hasn't. He's got that completely wrong. Last year, we're in 2023 now. So last year was 2022. And last year was awful. Domestically, it was really, really bad. I've got the stats here. I went through this before. So 39 league games we played in that period. Since this is between now and going back to the beginning of 2022, we've played 39 league games. We've won 11 of them. It's a 28% ratio. 28%. That's relegation. That is relegation. Really, really poor. Considering the fact that we were, when we finished sixth in the league, we were 50% that season. We're now 28 that year and up to now. It's been really, really poor. Really, really poor. And this season, I mean, to be 15 points in 19 games, well, you know, it's a genius to work it out where we're going now. I mean, 38 games in the season. We're halfway through. We're going to finish on 30 points. That's what's happening here. We're going to go and play. We're going to be in the Championship next season. It is going to happen if we don't change the manager now. It's going to happen. There's no other way around this now. The board have to act, because the thing is now the attention's on the board. Yes, we're angry at Moyes. Yes, we're not happy with the situation, but I'm also now the attention's firmly switching to the board now, going, well, come on, you know, you've given him time. You said you can't keep standing by him and keep saying, well, let's give him a bit more time. Time for what? What are you hoping is going to happen? He's had that window. This is like a salesman at work. Say you give them $5,000 a week target to make on their sales. So that's your target every week. And then one week they sell 15 grand's worth and you go, oh, well done. Fantastic. Brilliant week. And then the next 2 months, they don't sell a penny. You can't keep referring back to that week and going, well, I did well, didn't I? Well, yeah, fair enough. It doesn't work that way. You can't just keep looking back and going, I did well for a while. We haven't done well for a long time under David Moyes. We haven't done well at all. We're not going to win anything under him. We're not going to win the Conference League. I can't see any of this happening. David Moyes, his time is up. It is up now. It's sad. It's sad to see it because I actually think the fans are still grateful to him, and I still think that, you know, ultimately we all are. I think when we stand back from this, when this is all past and, you know, time's gone on, I think we'll look back to David Moyes' time and go, actually, you know what? He did bring us Europe. We had a great run in the Europa League. It was great fun, and we loved that season. Finished sixth. It was great. You know, it was a good year, and I've got nothing but gratitude for that. But it's become stale. It's finished. It's over. Like, it's obvious. It's clearly obvious. It's over. And yeah, that's it. So here we are then. So David Moyes looks like he's going out the door anytime soon. It's a sad time for West Ham. It really is. And I can't believe we're in this situation. I mean, looking at that Premier League table is painful, really painful to see. But it's no surprise, is it, really? I think we've all seen it coming for quite some time. It's not been turning around. And the only thing I can spin on it, you know, to give some positive to this video is at least now the board are making noises that we've been crying out for a long time now. For a long time, is that they've had enough. That they're getting sick and tired of this now. About time. They should have pulled the plug ages ago. And I can only, it's only going one way. For me, it's all over. Thanks for watching, everyone. Cheers.